and welcome to episode 8 of Footnotes and Fairy Tales, the platform that hopes to showcase the people of Newry and their stories. My guest today is charismatic, unashamedly himself. He's authentic, he is talented, funny, he is a singer-songwriter, and we should be excited. He's, as I said, charismatic, very talented, he's a showman. But that being said, he's generous with his time. He's humble. I've had a long-standing relationship with him going back as far as 2008. I genuinely enjoy his company, and I've been looking forward to talking to him. So, without bigging him up any further, I'd like to introduce you today to my guest, Marty McGuigan.
Hello,
Hey, Marty.
I'm bowled over by that intro. Whenever you gave that intro and come to the conclusion, I was like, am I on next week?
Is he talking about someone else?
Yeah. I'll take it though. Thank you very much. The pleasure to be invited. And yes, it's a real privilege. As I say, we have a long-standing relationship since like 2008. Yeah, so it's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember I've lived in America for a couple of years. And
yeah.
I'd come back, I guess, end of 2007, and then early 2008, I took a job in the call center in Newry.
The electronic abattoir.
That's where I met you, and I think we hit it off more or less straight away. I think the UK version of The Office was.
There's a common denominator, you know. If you're stuck for filler conversation, like just quote an episode of the UK Office and Brent.
and to this day, when I see you, it's that The Office is still the first, the thing we'll always talk about first and foremost. But it's been a joy, man. Having known you that long. And I don't see it all that often, but when I do, it's always funny, uplifting. You're an incredibly positive person. That's my, I guess, perspective from the outside looking in. As you as a person, I've always known you to be positive, cheerful. You seem to take life by the scruff of the neck and make the very best of it. Is that a fair assessment of you and your personality?
Yeah, on the large, it would be because I would sort of see I do sort of see that the life as half full. Obviously, it's not without its its periodic moments of introspection and self doubt and stuff like that. But I would find that because I'd be someone if I let the moments of periods of introspection and self doubt linger, then that can become like like a psychological contagion, like, and it kind of can become like really like cancerous to your thinking, and I think that I think like obviously I would consider myself like a humble like upbeat kind of character, but I think if you let them kind of fester in your head, I think I'd worry about being submerged. You know what I mean? And I think I think there's a lot of people like out there so I do try and be upbeat. I do try and see the positive in life. It's a kind of fuck it, lose the job Friday, get a new job Monday kind of attitude, which I've done plenty of times. It's no, you are go on, you go, jog on, Siobhan. And I think that's served me okay so far. And I think like in the creative world, like if you do comedy, if you do script writing, if you do music or whatever you do, you have to, because you can see what you have in your head. You can see a vision, or you can see the panorama that may or may not be ahead of you. Other people can't see it, so you got to suspend that belief, if you know what I mean. It's a shot in the dark, it's a hope in the dark, and sometimes it can be borderline. It can seem like borderline insanity. So I think the thing that keeps me buoyed is that positivity, that there is a better thing around the corner, that despite what's coming or despite what's happened, that there's I'm unashamedly 39 now, like, keep it to yourself. But it doesn't quell any ambition. It doesn't make me think, oh God, I'm too old to be in the music business or anything now. Like, but in fact, it makes me think that God, this is my chance to get the bit between the teeth and to I still think I've got time, like, albeit I haven't got 30 years, like, because no one wants to see a 72-year-old debut indie rock album. So yeah, positivity is very important, especially when you get through things, and I think that would be definitely a key component of my credo in life.
Yeah, I mean, and I genuinely respect you for that. And it's not, it's not something that you necessarily do intentionally. It's your personality. I mean, I'm always assured that if I bump into you in the street, it's going to be a cheerful, smiley, happy Marty, and it's a pick me up. I love bumping into you. I wanted to talk, and specifically why I wanted to bring you on is because your background in music. You're a
Yeah.
singer, songwriter, a performer in every aspect of your life. I would say you're a performer, and that's why I want you. What was your beginnings in music? I mean, who had you seen? Even in those teenage years, that like I want to be like that guy, or this music inspires me to want to write, to want to play.
I think the obvious reference point was when you were sort of when you're coming into teenage years, like Oasis were just ubiquitous around that time. They were everywhere, and I think everyone just wanted to be Liam or Noel, and I wanted to have the coolness of Liam, but I always looked at the credits and seen written by Noel Gallagher. I wanted to be Noel, but even prior to that, there when your embryonic musical sort of ideas are coming in, I remember my dad was sort of obsessed with the Beatles and Queen. So around the time, like when I was 5 or 6, I think I was 6, Freddie Mercury died. So his music was everywhere, and the videos and all this here, and you would have seen all the archive footage and montages and the tributes and all that, tribute concerts and all that there. And so I would have seen a lot of like Freddie when I was younger, and just his exuberant, like apart from his incredible voice, superlative talent, but I think what shown to me about Freddie Mercury was like, not that I don't even write songs like him, nobody can, but I think I just like this cheeky, whimsical style. Like he just had a real likability about him, Freddie Mercury. Like he's devoid of pretense. Like he just created great art. And I think he was asked like, what, Mr. Mercury, what's your favorite of all your songs you've written? And his answer was, whatever given me the most money, darling. And I actually liked that answer because it was so refreshingly honest. So I think boys that got there were keystones for me. Like I always thought, like, right, the Gallaghers, because they're real working class boys that you can relate to, and they had them sort of massive anthems that everybody loved, and I was like, I would love to be as cool as that. I never will be. So I guess that was the beginnings, really.
At what point did you pick up a guitar and say, like, this is the instrument of choice, like this is what I'm going to play my trade with?
Yeah, so I was, what's the story, Morning Glory, Oasis were big when I was 10, 11, 12, right? And so I started sort of writing poetry, and I started like writing little like comedic ideas, little bits of script writing and stuff like that. So it hadn't percolated down to to songs at this stage. But maybe about 14, I started having definite concrete ideas about songs. It was sort of gravitating that way. Whereas I would have been writing ideas for poems, for little jokes and comedy routines and stuff like that. So I'd done drama in the Abbey and stuff like that. Very badly, I might add. I was no Montgomery Clift, like, and but Montgomery Clift, So by 14, I started to have concrete ideas of songs. I was hearing songs in my head, if that makes sense. And then there was another couple of years. I was about 16. I got my first guitar, and a really, really good friend of mine. I call it kismet or serendipity. Like, it was really, I suppose, in the tech. He was a real virtuoso guitarist. Like, he was just like, you're just looking at him. You're looking at alien life form, and it really was a humbling experience. But I would have always written more songs than him. Like, so it sort of, he just taught me, and I suppose that was just the start of it. Then you had like an instrument and a conduit for these ideas, because the songs that I was having in my head, I hadn't got the level to, or the vocabulary on the guitar to articulate what I wanted. But then when I started to get pretty okay in the guitar. I had the conduit that I needed to get these songs down on paper, and I suppose that was the beginnings of it, really.
And can you imagine now, looking back, that say you didn't pick up the guitar, but you'd still been writing songs? Would it ever have been the case that you perhaps would have pursued just as a frontman singer?
Hey, I think, believe it or not, I actually would have been no, the guitar is kind of like, I'm gonna sound very Brent like here, but it's your Excalibur. Like it's like a bit of a, it's almost, I always see it as a bit of a distraction from the voice, you know, even though I think, okay, I can sing, right, blah blah blah, like I'm not Caruso, but I can sing, but I would have been like a bit sort of self-conscious of the voice to do the whole Ian Brown, Jim Morrison thing, just lame thing, like just standing there with a microphone. I would have thought too scrutinized to not have the guitar, whereas I thought like the guitar just was a perfect defense mechanism. It's a shield almost, like a, you know, and so it's interesting to think of that there, like, you know, to think, go down that rabbit hole of thinking. I think probably, if I hadn't picked up a guitar, maybe I might have went script writing direction, you know, script writing, or you know, I would have stuck to trying to do a bit of comedy. Do you know?
Do you think that there's a chance that if you hadn't picked up the guitar, that your life might have been directed another way, and the music mightn't have been as big in your life as it is?
I think so. I think academically, I might have put in a bit more of an effort, and then, you know, I might have gravitated that, or certainly, I probably script writing or comedy always I was interested in. So God help, you know, the comedic audiences of everywhere has been saved. To dodge the bullet there somehow. And music's lost is comedy's gain, I guess. You
know? So let me talk about the first time that you played, whether it be to you know, a couple of people in your family, or that first live performance. You know, talk to me about kind of the nerves. You know, that voice that perhaps was telling you inside, you know, don't do this. You know, I'm not good enough. You know how you suppress that panic or fear, and ultimately how that experience went, and did it give you a confidence afterwards?
Yeah, I remember I sort of started, the guy I mentioned who taught me the guitar, Jamie Conlon, great guy. He taught me the guitar, and I started sort of like finding the Oasis songs and like the Beatles songs and stuff like kind of easy to learn, you know, and I picked them up pretty rapidly, and that was okay. So I remember chatting to the guys, you know, the guys that you play football with, your childhood mates, you know, do you play guitar, do you? And you know, you must be a furry, like, you know. And so sort of, and this sort of, I started talking about it a bit more, that, you know, and yes, I've done Wonderwall, you know, and I can play like Hey Jude or blah blah blah, and so it started to build up a little bit of traction. It must have been in their minds, because they were going, the show was staying, you know, probably bastards were setting you up the field. And the parents went away on this holiday, right? And they went away, my brother went. So I had a free house to myself, and house parties and all that sort of nonsense ensued. And I had a legion of doom, as I might call them, who decamped in my house for a week like it was fucking Glastonbury. And couldn't get rid of them. I think the borderline squatters' rights towards the end. But one of the nights, when muchos alcohol was consumed, like muchos tequilas was consumed, the goes go on, get the guitar out, and I would never have done it. Only I think at this stage there was a couple of stragglers who weren't as testosterone fueled. They weren't as all, like, I might add, all these guys were all good banter, but it's all cutting kind of, you know, the Irish banter, where the scabrous kind of insult is a term of endearment kind of thing. But I think I was a bit too fragile for the harsher end of that spectrum. But I think a couple of stragglers were left, and a couple of stragglers.
You thought that potentially the few that were left were so drunk that you wouldn't be judged too harshly?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a sympathetic window, you know. And if this goes tits up, then the guitar has been used for firewood. So, and I always got on well with my mates' girlfriends, and I always thought they were like, you know, because I always felt like that kind of, you know, that kind of androgyny, like I could get on with girls and get on with the lads as well, and equally as comfortable in both company. And but I always thought the girls that I got on with, they wouldn't be as harsh to you, like, you know, not so bad. It was fucking terrible, wasn't it? Yeah. So, but you can just see their faces, whereas the lads would go, "Oh, it's a load of shit." You know, all right. I heard you the first 15 times. You don't have to continue. You know? And so I was all right. So then, I think I played Don't Look Back in Anger. I think I played what was it? Talk Tonight, which is quite simple. Oasis, like 2 Oasis tunes, and then like a cocky little shit, like, because I don't know where this preternatural confidence comes from, but I played one of my own tunes, which don't laugh, but very pretentiously it was War. What was going on around 2002, 2003? Yeah,
Okay.
It's called War. Yeah, and I thought I think I even knew then, D, that like I knew, like, I'm never going to be as good as Liam Gallagher doing Wonderwall, or I'm never going to be as good as Paul McCartney doing freaking Eleanor Rigby. So I always felt like the way for me to make it as a musical artist, or the way to do it, was to be Marty McGuigan. And at the time, I didn't know what Marty McGuigan was creatively. I just knew I liked writing songs. I knew I enjoyed expressing myself through that medium. So I thought, because there's a million better singers than me, like, there's a million better guitarists than me. So I felt like my way as a means of distinction was your art and your creativity, and I knew very quickly that was the way for me, was to write my own songs. In fact, I knew it was the only way, and so that in that drunken haze, that's almost a Morrissey lyric, isn't it? In the haze of drunken hour, you know, and under them sympathetic lights, I thought, like, you know what, I'll try this here. And then I think I remember one of my mate's girlfriends at the time, she goes, when I played that tune, slightly pretentious tune, War, like, you know, and it was a decent tune. She, what was going on that time? Blur and Burst and all. And she goes, "Did you write that?" And I goes, "Yeah." And that's brilliant. And of course, one of the lads replies, "Bollocks, I've heard that before." And I goes, "Yeah, well, technically you're actually right. You did hear it before. You heard it 8 seconds ago."
What was the first time then that you played at a venue, or decided to busk? Because I know you've been busking for as long as I've known you, essentially. But when was that first time that you played it in a venue where, yes, granted there might be some friends there, but there's people that you don't know?
Yeah, I think the first one was there was years and years ago. There was a thing called there was a festival that was you remember Tanglewood? Do you? Yeah, I think it was about 5 years before that. There was, before Tanglewood. There was 2006, 2007. There was I remember a girl that I knew, Aoife, and she said there was this guy who was holding like a bit of a party and a bit of a festival in his barn, his family's barn, and said, "Do you want to come and play?" And at this stage I was still like your party guy, just turn party Marty, turn up, three tunes, and then just piss off, put the guitar down, and you've impressed whoever you want to impress. Yeah, and got extremely bladdered day, like, and I was just born out of pure nerves, because I'd talked the talk. I'd said, "Oh yeah, do my own tunes, and, you know, I'm the next Leonard Cohen and all this motherfucking voice of a generation, doing the whole Kanye West thing." And so I was giving it the big I am, and so went out this, and I think I was out Big Bleak, and went out this barn, and the more and more it built all day, I got, like, inexorably more nervous, and I could actually feel myself wilting, you know, inside, like, or, you know, the swan flapping underneath the surface, but, like, you know, to everyone else you're exuding all this here sang-froid and calm, like, you're utterly, you're trying to be Richard Ashcroft, but you're failing in your own mind. So I got really, really badly drunk, and I think I was only fit for about 4 or 5 songs. But as luck would have it, I think I was put onto the bill really, really late in the day, thanks to this girl Aoife. So I was a lastminute.com kind of guy, like, and I think they only had time to have me on for 3 or 4 songs, which was quite lucky because I literally only had 3 or 4 songs prepared. So if they'd asked me for a fifth, I'd have been gone. Like, yeah. So that was the first time, and I probably would only had if they had asked me for a fifth song, I'd have been like, I'm screwed. I'm fucked here. So and so I think I actually did all originals in that gig because it was just it wasn't actually, it was just musicians. People who hung about the Magnet Centre, not there, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was guys hung about the Magnet Centre. They're all into the music, so that there was actually like a burgeoning kind of interest in writing your own tunes. Because there's some guy, Joe, did Sweet Home Alabama, brilliant version of it. Like, he was playing all the lead guitar, pyrotechnics, and I said, you know what, like, I just got to play my own tunes, my 4 that I have. And I think the 4 I did was the good old War, after I mentioned War. I did Scratching for a Dime. I did Got It, Bait. Like 3 or 4 tunes that were in my staple. They all, even if I did, even when I'm doing pub gigs and stuff like that there, where they wanted you to do the covers, I would still slip them songs in, and they always went down well with even unsuspecting people in the pub. Like, they would go down well. They would assume that's okay, like, so that emboldened me that I would slip them in by stealth into pub gigs, like we are playing, your Oasis, your Beatles, your Rhinestone Cowboy, and all of that, and it would go pretty okay. Like, so I think that really gave me a bolster of confidence that these tunes are actually all right. No one's come up to the pub manager and goes, yes, he's playing sketchy originals to him. Tell him to fuck up, Tell him we want Neil Diamond, So nobody said anything. So I think I just took that as a carte blanche to go. That's my green light to go, really,
Well, absolutely. I mean, I presume that covers are wonderful. It's a means to, I don't know, to create an atmosphere, get a buzz going amongst an audience. But at the same time, inevitably, you want yourself to come across, and it's important that you're allowed that opportunity to showcase your own talent, your own songs. Yes, there's an industry there to do covers and perform at weddings, whatever. But knowing you for who you are, that creativeness in you, I think it's so important that you are allowed to let yourself come across.
I think so. Like, if you think about it this day, like, analyze this way, right? Covers by their definition are it's a very, very weird industry. Like, if you think about it, right? Like, if you wanted to be a comedian, you would never go into a pub and you would never use Ricky Gervais's jokes. You'd never use Stuart Lee's routines. And music seems to be that kind of creative anomaly where, like, if you were a young filmmaker, you couldn't just crib the scene from Pulp Fiction or something. Like, you couldn't. Whereas music seems to be that thing where because it's so associated with pub life and gregarious culture and stuff like that there, it seems to be it's okay to do Jolene and it's okay to do Chuck Berry and stuff like that there. Whereas which is great because it's kept me freaking eating sometimes. Like, sometimes it's literally, he's a hungry musician, quite literally. But I always found it fascinating, and I don't say I hope I don't come across as being like snottery when I say that, but I always found it fascinating to analyze that of all the creative arts. Like, you'd never go into drama class and you would never you would never mimic Robert De Niro perfectly. Like, well, not that you could, but you'd never, a young script writer's not going to say, you know what, I'm going to take that that routine from the Coen brothers and crib it and fashion it into my wee thing. Like, you wouldn't really do that, would you?
So have you had an opportunity now to play a set or a gig where you've just done all your own stuff?
Yeah. Fun enough, I lived in Edinburgh for a year. About not long after we met, like 2010. At the minute, we both got out of the electronic abattoir that is the call centre. I went to Edinburgh. I lived in Barcelona for a while. I had a couple of gigs. couple of times I've been close in terms of like management companies wanting to look after me. And one guy, and you're not, nobody ever believes me when I say his name, because the name sounds so fantastical, like it's a character out of the Mighty Bush. But his name was Barnaby Eels. Barnaby Eels. And yes, he was English, an older guy with it, like the curtains hairstyle, like.
Yeah.
And I did when I was in Barcelona, I started going around and doing original sets and some of these bars off La Ramblas. And I remember me and McGuigan at the time, we bumped in this guy, Barnaby Eels, and he said, "You know, I'm a music manager and all." I said, "Could you manage like the Bee Gees and all? Have you, like, you know?" And he would he says he sort of, I remember saying, like, he wanted to draw up this plan. Like, the plan is to get you signed and all this here, and I'm going to represent you. We're gonna strategize this here. And you know, I don't know. I thought so. I remember doing them gigs, but he was very enthused. But and we did a few more gigs. And then I think we ended up leaving Barcelona. It fizzled out, that kind of. But I done gigs in Barcelona, and I remember Barnaby Eels was quite enthused by my originals, which I thought was like, yeah. And then went back to Edinburgh, and I played in a number of bars. There's a bar, I don't know why you know Edinburgh that well, but there's like a place called like Whistle Binkies, and it was like just after the recession, or there was the credit crunch crash came 2007, 2008. But it was around 2010, 2011 where the company still wasn't out of there. And this place, Whistle Binkies, like, it did comedy, it did live music, and it didn't really. I thought the place suffered from a classic identity crisis. Didn't really know what it was, whether it was a comedy bar or a music bar, you know. So you had muggins here. You had sandwiched between like a troupe of comedians, and after me would have been like these big death metal guys dressed like Thor, or with hairy bastards, you know. And I'd have been in between the middle of them, and you would have seen it, like, freaking the audience wouldn't have said boo as the comedians were on stage, you know, and the audience the quietest, I think. And they fucking started heckling me, and I said, "I'm not a comedian. There's a bit of a clue here." But they started heckling me, and I think, "The fuck am I here for?" But yeah, that I would have said, because I was only the, as I would have said, like the interlude guy. I was there for, I think I only did an hour. I was sort of cognizant of the fact, despite my, like, maybe I was seen as a sneaky opportunity, but I was well aware that I wasn't the main actor. Like, people who were wanting the comedy, or they were wanting the heavy metal, the death metal, all that there, they were wanting that. So I knew that it was kind of a free pass for me. Like, it was kind of like, okay, I think I was getting at the time, for the hour, I was getting like 70 quid and all the beers you could drink. We'll talk about that later. So it was kind of a good deal for me. Like, in 2010, it was kind of a good deal for me. And your guy goes, yeah, you can drink all the beer you want, blah blah blah. So, because I was only there for an hour, I didn't feel that I had to learn a set of covers. So I said, you know what, fuck it. Because I'm only here for an hour, I'm going to do my own. And I think I did 70-80% of my own. And I think I did a couple of covers, played maybe 15 tunes, and nobody ever knew that. And I was asked back every week. It was a Sunday night, and every week I was asked back, and I just sort of, that gave me the confidence to go for it, really. Because I thought, God, like, you know, bars are, you always see, like, going around bars or something like that. There a lot of bars, like, they love you playing, but like some bars, they don't really love to hand over the money to you. So yeah. My logic was that if they were willing to let that slide for 5, 6, 7, 3, 4 months, 7 months, 8 months, every Sunday, me just playing originals without complaint, I thought that, okay, I must be okay then if they're not complaining. Because if they were actually saying, oh, people don't like you playing them originals, play covers, they'd have had a word with you, wouldn't it? So that was my logic then. But incidentally, I think I was on it around 9:30, 10 o'clock. So what I did, 9:30, 10:30, or 9 to 10, or 9:30 to 10:30, and the comedians would have been before me. So your barman, I think his name is Nigel or something else, he goes, yeah, lad, you just turn up and, 70 quid, all the drink you want. So I was on at 9, I would turn up at about 5. So I turn up at 5. I mean, I would get sculled, and utter professional, and literally, absolute. You know, you can imagine Chris Martin doing this, couldn't you? Well, that's why he's Chris Martin, and that's why I'm just bloody Martin. And then, so we're up at 5, and drinking away. And progressively every week you could sort of cheekier and cheekier, you know, like maybe the first week you'd sip over 4 or 5 beers. I think by about 3 months, you know, you're drinking 14, 15 pints, you know, like properly getting your money's worth, like, you know. And one of the times, because obviously the band were set up for after, like, so I was just like a microphone, acoustic guitar, sometimes a stool, sometimes not a stool, depending how pissed I was. And fuck, so it goes time for me to play, and I was trolleyed, absolutely mangled, and got up on stage, missed the stool and fell into the drum kit. Fell into the drum kit of this death metal, this big massive John Bonham lookalike drummer, like, who was fuming that I had wrecked his cymbals. And
I think anybody could have been forgiven there for thinking that you were perhaps the next comedy act, you know.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, man, it was a. You know what? They asked me back every week. I think, like, no matter what you did, that bar didn't cure. You know, you'd been swinging on the lights, and I think so. I think in essence that gave me like a good license. It gave me a good platform and latitude to play your own songs, to sort of be yourself, to say what you want, because I always hated playing them, you know, them places like that were wine bar type places, or there were restaurants or seafood restaurants. I played a couple of them in Edinburgh, just outside Musselburgh, and they were horrible, because they were just like, they were so pompous, and they like, for the 150 quid they'd hand you, like, they literally expected a 27-year-old Paul McCartney to mind his P's and Q's, to sit over there, don't play it too loud, but rock it up a bit, but don't be too loud. You know anything catchy, do you? Like, as if the Beatles, the Bee Gees, and David Bowie and all aren't catchy. You know? Yeah. But I like playing the rough places.
So, I mean, I get the impression, I mean, you've had a very clear vision of where you perhaps want to go with music. And yeah, I get the impression that regardless, knowing your sense of humor, you know, even taking the rough with the smooth, that you're enjoying the journey. You know, you can tell even from your stories, from those horrible experiences where, you know, you've fallen into a drum kit, pissed drunk.
Yeah.
That in hindsight, it makes you who you are, and that you're, all things being said, you're loving it. You know, but that being said, how frustrating has it been trying to ply your trade, make a name for yourself, establish yourself? You know,
yeah.
Has there been times where you felt like this is just, it's not going where I want it to go, and that I'm going to hang up the guitar?
You get that thought 20 times a week, you know, and it's only fleeting. It's only fleeting moments, but yeah, there's honestly been. I remember around that time, good old Barnaby Eels wanted to manage me. I was sorting out trope problems, you know, and went home to Edinburgh, and then I went back to Edinburgh for a year. Ignored the trope problems stupidly. Like, it was a bit of an ignoramus. I didn't really know anything about voice science or your throat and stuff like that. So I just thought it was like, just stick to honey and lemon, cut down in the pints and the gigs. Never did. And like, yeah, I just kept singing on. So, like, really without much vocal preparation, would have been very, very lax. Wouldn't have did any warm ups. And then the voice just came to a halt. I just lost my voice, and went to ENT. And you know what it's like in the NHS now. Then it wasn't much better either. And the services, you're waiting months and months, and you've no throat. That constant feeling of having to clear the throat. Yeah, so I lost my voice, and then they found out that it was polyps on my vocal cords, and that good old hot whiskey and a honey and lemon just wasn't going to sort it. So like, I went with having these couple of guys who wanted to manage it. There was another guy in London who wanted to manage me and promote the songs and get me signed and that there. To not being able to speak, never mind sing, like not being able to speak for because I got an operation, like, and I wasn't able to speak properly for probably about a year, 2012, 2013, and yeah, then you think, right, the chance is gone, and you think, because in that year, you'd only lose a voice. I was waiting, say, I think I waited 9 months for the operation, right? So you're not gigging then, right? And then when I had the operation, I wasn't allowed to speak for 6 or 8 weeks, really. So I had to write things down. I remember the postman coming to my mum and dad's house, and I had a sign basically like written saying, "Can't talk. I've lost the voice. So what's up with you?" And I go, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Can't speak," and all I could do was underline them. I'm like, and then I eventually wrote, "Go away." like the moron from outer space. The times I got was just like, it was so frustrating because it was like yeah, so couldn't speak for 3 months. So this stage now, I've been having voice trouble for about a year. It took about 3-4 months to establish that it was vocal polyps. Then you waited 9 months for the operation. So that's say the guts of a year just there over. And then when you have the operation, you can't speak for 3 months, and then you sort of got to go to therapy to sort of like build up your throat again, like and to make it voice fit. But I think in that year and a half, 2 years, it's not only the waiting around, it's the bad habits that set in, and you know, like you think you sort of nearly adopt a bit of nihilism almost, like where you think like it's not going to happen, so I might as well go out for the 9 or 10 pints with the mates, you know, which is no harm. Like if you're just if you're just happy enough to go out and drink first Friday night, but when you want to do something like the voice was gone, but also mentally the bad habits set in, the rot had set in kind of thing. And it was that time like where yeah, I actually remember. Do you remember the second time Obama got elected? Like he beat Mitt Romney. Yeah, it was around that time, and I remember like convincing myself that it was like, you know, I was going places because it became a real political anorak then. Like, you know, I knew everything about everything, you know, but really I was just drifting and doing nothing but like being lazy, procrastinating, just drinking a little too much, and just wallowing in a little bit in self-pity because you felt sort of directionless, and yeah, the bad habits had set in, and I really just didn't. At that point in time, there was a bit of fuck, it's not going to happen. So I nearly justified the self-sabotage, if you know what I mean, with that kind of thinking.
And in that period of time where you couldn't sing, where was the creative outlet for you? I mean, were you still writing songs?
I was still writing, but creatively, you sort of knew. Like, I sort of was writing. There's an old thing that's set in that it still sometimes find it hard to shake off. I've an awful bad habit of you know, you get an idea of a song and you write a verse, you'd write a chorus or something like that, and so from that period of time, like 2012 to 2015, 16, like I had so many fragments of songs, bits of songs that are like, oh, I'll come back to that later. So I sort of developed a real sort of like, oh, I'll come back to that later kind of philosophy, which is, I think the best way to do a song is like just to stick with it until you finish it. At least finish the framework. You know, you've got the frame, and you can always decorate it, or you can always chop and change, you know, when you see fit. But I think the worst thing to do is maybe to stop, because you've lost that moment. So you have, and I think so. I have a cluster of songs from that time where of them type of songs, which, you know, like a lot of like little like fragments of songs that I like. I don't know where they go now. Like I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, that's not a bad 30 seconds. That's it's not. Some more, please. And yeah, so I think that sort of became like that. Yeah, you felt you were going around that circular kind of you know, you're going back around in circles kind of thing, and it wasn't good. Like I'd naturally be quite lazy. Like, you know, I have to force myself to be quite dynamic. I have to fill my day with things, and if I fill my day with things, and it kind of perpetuates that kind of that you do something tomorrow, you do something the next day, you do something the next day. Whereas, oh man, there's no one can lie on the sofa like me. There's no one can just like languish and sit and watch shit TV, or you know, that was them years. They were really fallow. You wrote lots of fragments of songs, but because you didn't think they were going anywhere, they were kind of like, I would call them like abortive, kind of stillborn ideas, if that makes sense, you know?
Mhm. How much of your life now is music, and how much is everything else? Like, if you were to put a percentage on it, like how big is music in your life right now, and what kind of fills the rest of that?
Well, I think the idea of music is these days is bigger than the actual 8 hours a day that you put. I don't put 8 hours a day into it anymore. But I've got so many songs that I don't need to put 8 hours a day into it. I say, like, you know, I made a sort of conscious decision that, like, I'm never going to try and be the prodigy guitarist, because that never interested me, you know. And I think I've put enough work into the writing over the years that I've got a stockpile of ideas that I can keep me ticking over. And so whenever a new idea comes to me, I feel like, oh, it's a beautiful bonus. I thought there's another song that I think is pretty cool. So the idea of music is probably 95% of my life. It inhabits thinking that there, like maybe, you know, it's the reason I haven't been married and haven't had kids. Probably, I would say, I would go as far as to say out there, because I've never really met that person that has been 100% compatible with it. And it's going to sound really, really harsh, but so in that respect, maybe subconsciously, I've always thought, like, I've got to jettison this here. If it's not conducive to the idea, then I'm sorry, but it's not going to go anywhere really. And that sounds like, I don't mean that to sound callous, but that's just been the incontrovertible truth, is that music is always sort of dominating my thinking. Throughout them times where I was doing nothing, it was still there, but it was flickering, like, and it was really, really wavering. But I think, you know, the idea to create the idea, do you ever read you know, you read these things anecdotally on Facebook and stuff like that, you would see, like, I don't actually know if it ever actually happened in any instance, but you see a thing where anecdotally, like, for sale, and you'd see a picture of a dog, blah blah blah, you know, and it would go down because girlfriend didn't like dogs, girlfriend for sale. Like, it turned out that you know, that basically that if any woman or any man, depending if you're a man or woman, wanted you to choose a pet, or choose them over a pet, well, then there's the door. And that's kind of the way I see music. If any person wanted me to choose, you know, to put the music down for them, then I would sort of innately say that they weren't the right person for me. And so that's kind of how strong the idea would still be. But and I don't know why it's crazy, or like, but you know, but I think
No, I mean, I think I understand to a point, because I think everyone needs an outlet, creatively or otherwise, something to feel passionate about and strongly about. And I think it can be a huge driving force in anyone's life. You know, I like music, but it's not my outlet. It's not my passion. I mean, I'm still figuring myself out, even at 40 years of age. I'm still trying to figure it all out. I mean, I love history. I love literature. You know, I always, well, not so much anymore, but I'd always ideas of becoming a playwright. I like the idea of putting my work on stage and kind of sneakily sitting on the back row somewhere, nobody knowing who I was, and watching it, see how people react to it. But I understand it completely. If I don't have those passions and that means to enjoy something, then what am I? I mean, surely somebody that comes into your life has to understand that, and equally, you need to understand what they're passionate about.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's safe to say that if you had a partner in your life, Marty, and she made you choose between her and the guitar, that ad would say "girlfriend for sale."
It would be one. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Yeah, I think, like, say for instance, right, like, you've obviously met someone who's really, really compatible with you, but I would say, like, I don't know why to throw us back. Is your wife, would she be interested in the creative arts like we are?
No, not really, no. But she understands what I'm passionate about, and she's always been supportive. Like, even me coming here to Switzerland, I've been here for almost a year. My wife wasn't necessarily on board. It wasn't something that she wanted in her life, but she understood that I have a certain outlook. I mean, she sees me as always chasing something that may or may not be there, and I
Yeah.
don't even know what it is I'm looking for specifically. But I'm always going to pursue, I guess, instinctively something that I think's there for me.
It's that
And
pursuit of
thankfully,
happiness.
yeah, it's that pursuit of happiness. And she's thankfully been patient and said, by all means, go and have that year in Switzerland, work and have the experience, because otherwise, it's going to have a negative impact. Because I'm going to sit there and think,
Yeah.
well, what if? What if? And she didn't want that. She didn't want to take that experience away from me. So I'm quite lucky in that respect. But we don't have the arts in common. But if I've been to go and see a play in the Lyric in Belfast, she would come with me. I'm passionate about football. I've taken my wife to what was then Atletico Madrid's ground, the Vicente Calderon. She's been to a Champions League quarter final with me. She's been to the San Siro. She's been to the Bernabeu. She doesn't like football particularly, but again, she's been wonderful in that respect. So I guess it is important that even if somebody doesn't share your interests, that they support you in your pursuit of them.
Oh, totally. I think, as you say, it's that empathy and understanding, isn't it? And that commonality to like propel someone else's like dreams and I think I think that's intrinsic, but yeah, the as you said, the support is the key, and it doesn't. You don't necessarily need, I don't necessarily need to be Bob Dylan to someone's Joan Baez. Like
Yeah,
it just needs to be someone that is cognizant of the fact that this is kind of always going to be there. I think me and you share that dreamer quality of always wanting to chase something, which I think it's a great quality to have. I think it's like
of course.
chase the next adventure, and like I think that's what life's about. Is sort of like what's the next thing? It can be precarious, but I
Yeah,
think the next thing is really what intrigues me. Like the next thing is like, oh god, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go here? And I think
yeah.
that's a great quality to have.
I think for sure it's something that's going to shape who you are. I think you learn much more about yourself when you're put in a position where you're not comfortable. I mean,
Yeah,
my wife and children came with me here to Switzerland last August. They stayed for 3 weeks. I guess the idea was that were all going to move at some stage here and try it for a year or two. But my wife and children went home after the first 3 weeks, and I was left alone. And that train journey, I'd taken them to the airport in Geneva, and that train journey back, panic kind of set in. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm on my own here.
yeah,
Um, and I guess it's either I'm gonna, that fight or flight thing was like either I'm gonna stay here and do the year, have that experience, and come back better for it, or else I'm gonna let panic rule me, and I'm gonna pack my bags and go home with them. And thankfully, here I am near the end of the year that I've been here, and I've loved it. There's been times where I
yeah,
felt, lonely and trying to understand why I'm here, what am I looking for. But I think the overriding narrative is that I'm better for the experience. I've come to a wonderful country, met some fantastic people, and if I hadn't pursued that opportunity, then I would never have known that. So it's I guess that Conor McGregor's coach. Not that MMA is relevant here at all, but he coined that phrase in his book. I think it's called "Win or Learn." There's
yeah.
there's no loss.
No
As
love.
long as you pursue it. Yeah, for sure. You've been, and I admire this about you. You've, I guess, done everything that you can in the pursuit of music. You've traveled quite broadly, you know, and that's something that I say I respect you for. Um, I think quite recently you've been to Spain for a time as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually I was in Spain there for a while before Christmas. The first part of the academic year I was teaching Slovakia actually, and that's kind of a little bit of a decamp, a little bit of a like let's a hiatus from music, but like breathe in, reflect, take stock, because I felt say this time last year, 12 18 months, I felt that I was immersing myself in the busking life. I'd recorded, I'd released some singles on Spotify, which were done okay. But I felt that I was maybe just kind of regurgitating. I was nearly like an automaton. I was
Yeah.
sort of sleepwalking my way through it. I was kind of doing the same things. I wasn't thinking laterally, and I needed a bit of a break. So went to Slovakia, which was pretty good. They don't do small talk over there. It's I'll have an Americano, please. And it's like, Americano, are you busy today? Nothing. Didn't hear me. Are you busy today? No, nothing. They don't want to engage. So that was pretty cauterizing experience. It was pretty chastening, should I say? You know, whenever you, for someone who likes, I consider myself quite eloquent and quite gregarious, but the going into a bar and just being the guy with the earphones in and sipping his pint, it was kind of like a really I suppose, you know, when you're switching on your own, when your family went away, scary is not the word, but it's something akin to fear, isn't it? You know, as you're thinking, what am I doing here? What am I doing here in an ex-Eastern Bloc country with where nobody speaks the fucking language, you know, and if they do, you're always on the outside kind of thing, you know, and it's but it emboldened you, like it's sort of, I'd imagine you feel the same, like it definitely vindicates your decision in going, because when you reach the end of it and stuff like that, there you do feel emboldened by it, don't you?
For sure. I mean, I guess it's my interest in literature and writing and stuff, but I tend to think of my life as a story, and I guess a lot of what motivates me to do stuff is ultimately, when I look back on my life, what do I want that story to read as? And that's a large part of why I do many things. I know it's quite philosophical and deep, but I look at my life as I'm writing it as I go, you know? And I want to look back on it, having written all the chapters of my life, not leaving the story unfinished. And that, not that anybody would, but if someone were to read the story of my life, that they would say, that's incredibly interesting. This guy essentially pushed aside fear, went to unknown places, did interesting things. So that's my motivation for doing a lot of what I do. You know, a lot of the stories yet to be written, but I hope that, again, I instinctively follow that curiosity that leads me to places like Switzerland. You know, I lived in America for a while. I worked in South Africa. And all of that was tough at times. You know, I remember when I left New York and I moved to Fort Lauderdale in South Florida, I was on my own. And on the way there, or perhaps before I even left, I realized when I get there, I have nowhere to stay. I don't know anybody. So I had family in New York, and I reached out to them. Their mother at the time was living in Fort Lauderdale. It's kind of the retirement community of America, you know. So they reached out to her, and she had a friend, an old guy at that time, I would imagine in his late 60s, 70s, that had helped Irish people occasionally. So here I was, I arrived in Fort Lauderdale. There was a pensioner standing with a sign with my name on it. I'd never met him before in my life. And here he was taking me to stay at his home, and I stayed with him for 3 months. And at that time, it was kind of hurricane season. So I remember that first night in a strange home with a strange man. And it was...
I just like a Borat.
Yeah. And it was torrential rain outside, thunderstorms, and I panicked. It was, quite close to fear. I was like, what? And I didn't have enough money, even if I wanted to fly either back to New York or fly home to Ireland. And pride wouldn't let me phone my parents and say, listen, I'm somewhere where I shouldn't be. I have no money. I don't know what I'm doing here. I had a job lined up in a restaurant, which it was due to start. So I made the uncomfortable decision at the time to say, I'm just going to see this out. Like, let's see how this chapter unfolds. I persevered. I ended up staying for 2 years. I have relationships with people there, still to this day, that I keep in contact with, and I'm richer for the experience. So, I talked about it quite early with the second person I interviewed, Sean McAlevey. He's a stand-up comic. And we talked about fear being that thing that suppresses ambition, and you have to kind of push through it. And part of the motivation of this series of interviews is people from Newry that have insecurity and fear about doing and pursuing what they love, but ultimately set it aside. And I think you're a perfect example of that, because it's not easy being from Newry first and foremost and trying to make it in the music industry? Because you said we have all those friends that are going to shit on your idea and shit on your dreams.
Absolutely, the begrudgers are there, and even but if you let that envelop your thinking, you know, which at times it has, you know, I'm not saying I've been impervious to it all my life. I've certainly haven't been, and at times that kind of begrudgery has submerged you. You know, like McGuigan, you wanker. I don't know that one. Sounds like a catchy little number. Yeah. So like I'm not impervious, no, by no means impervious to that, but I think what it goes back to what you said about McGregor. It's win or learn, and the learn is the times that you're feeling like really you know, you feel the orbit submerged by that level of negativity and stuff like that cancerous kind of scabrous kind of put downery. But the learn is when you know that's fleeting, that's the clouds, that'll pass, and you know, I always something inherent in me just thinks like, no, I'm just gonna push on. And even when I did nothing, like I call it my wastelands years through when I did really nothing. Like I had this belief that I'm gonna get up off the canvas, I'm gonna put the old gum shield in the mouth, I'm gonna just try and go again, ding ding, new round, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's something just there. I think like I remember being in Belgium, sort of starting to lose my voice. Being in Berlin, busking in -12, -13, -14. Voice really starting to get butchered. So I can't busk to sustain myself. So I'm quickly biting into whatever savings I have built up in the call center, that whopping bonanza they give you every week. And so the money's getting and I'm still busking away. And then when the voice came to stage where it's not busking, so I remember like sleeping in bus stations and stuff like that. And you know, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing? And kind of like you, there's this couple in Belgium. The wife and me are just like famously great mates. And when I literally lost the voice, again, the ignorance in me, like not really knowing your instrument, not really knowing your voice. I thought it was because it was busking at -12 in Berlin. So I thought it was like bronchitis, you know, like and stuff like that. There, you know, after the honey and lemon phase wasn't working, I thought it was bronchitis. So they lived on the Belgian Dutch German border. There was a little town, Brie, like almost like cheese, like, but I don't think it's spelled the same. I think it's spelled BREE, and so it sort of straddles the border between Holland, Belgium, and Germany, and they live there. And whenever my voice was butchered up, I remember like, you know, having them moments of counsel where you're utterly decimated, your confidence is just sort of like demolished. And you have them moments where you cry, like where you sound very much like a Morrissey song. You know, you're living enactment of it. And you know, I remember just thinking like, still, it's better in the call center. Still, it's better than certain situations have been. Still, you're going out in your shield kind of way, like, you know, to be an old medieval kind of like warrior. You're going out in your shield kind of way. You're trying to follow your journey. Like, and I remember spent about 3 months in there. I spent Christmas with them. They were absolute legends to me, like to try and get me back to health. And I think I came home. I ended up coming home like about a week before St. Patrick's Day. No, I think it was actually the day before St. Patrick's Day, because I remember going to the Amplified for drinks that night when my voice was completely gone. Because it was pretty clear I wasn't clearing up, but I had to go home to get it seen to. But even times like that where you feel utterly desolate, I still think following that pursuit of happiness thing, that idea, that credo, that pursuit of, because as you say, and incidentally, what you said there, what would the 90-year-old self on his deathbed say to you? Like, you know, what would your 90-year-old self say to his great granddaughter or grandson? What would he say, like, if they asked you, like, what's the meaning of it all? And I think it's definitely writing that story and making that story cool, as interesting as possible. Like, you know, like it, and it's not, again, I think a lot of the misconception about certainly working class towns is, and this is clearly something that's been indoctrinated in the working class people by upper echelons in society, to try and give them an intellectual, societal, financial glass ceiling. But there's definitely something in working class people where they think like they're imposter syndrome, you know, like you know, oh, look at him, he's all laddie da now, so he is like, or the dancing fairy, or the dancing queen, and you're like where did we engender that kind of thinking? Like, it's like, I think there's a real resentment with some people. Sometimes people think, oh, he thinks he's better than us. No. I don't. But this is just a story I want to tell. This is just a story I want. For me, I'm not asking you to come along. Come along if you want, but I'm not telling you how to live your life. I don't think my life's better than yours. It's just our way, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I've always kind of thought in that respect, in terms of music, that the state that you're at in your music career, there's going to be people that judge you and think, oh fuck, there's Marty McGuigan, what's he doing, thinking he's a rock star. But
yeah,
if I think
they never say
if I were to think that you made it, and let's say you made it and you're headlining a gig, I would imagine those people would talk about you in a much different way. That's Marty McGuigan. He's from Newry. He comes from where I come from.
Of course they would, because because they would probably see you of having intrinsic value to them, like, oh, he can get us here, he can get us there, and he can get us to meet such and such. Whereas I always found that way of thinking retrograde and anachronistic. It's like they never say, like, it's only the musician gets it, really. The comedian sort of gets it as well, but the sort of fear, the wrath of the comedian's sharp tongue, like, but the musician gets it more. So the musician goes, oh, look at him, he thinks he's fucking Liam Gallagher, he thinks he's Bob Dylan. Whereas you never hear them saying the same about a Cornby in league football, or, oh, he thinks he's fucking Ronaldinho. Look at him, he thinks he's Chaka, like,
no, I think like you said, like, I think it's important to try and elevate each other. If whoever you meet has a particular dream, why not let them at it?
Absolutely.
I think we're all entitled to pursue happiness. I mean, it's never guaranteed, but the pursuit of it's there.
Absolutely.
Who are you to take away from anybody else's dream or shit on it, for want of a better word?
I think,
and that's why you in particular, I respect you, because you've walked to the beat of your own drum. And like we talked about, I think you want to write a story with respect to your life that's readable. That if somebody were to pick up your life story, you'd be like, fuck, man, that's incredible. What he did, that's incredible.
Yeah, like again, it's that like if you want your grandkids, or you want your kids to read a story about you going, fuck, you know what? My dad wasn't the bored old bastard. He was actually all right.
Yeah.
It's like back to the office. But you remember Brent is training day going, imagine him in a band, bald old bastard. Because I think there's something about the next generation. They always see the last generation as being, uncool and quintessentially just like old duffers. But I think if I ever have kids or anything like that, I would love them to sort of see, like, yeah, your dad, he's up for a laugh, and I think that's something that's intrinsic in me. It's very important for me is to try and be a social emollient, like I because I've experienced the cauterizing Scabrous pub humor, like where they're cutting you to shreds. Like I'm always cognizant of that fact that if someone else is following a dream, as you say, I like to elevate, I like to help propel people in any way I can, and because I've been the recipient of that kind of that negativity and that really acidic kind of. And it does no good. It does no good. But I think really now at the stage I'm at, I think, having been through things like losing a voice, losing my father and stuff like that there, and but been through the years and years and years of doing nothing. Like when I was a journalist, like I just did it and I seen it just as a job, and I never derived any gratification out of it, and I never really want to go back to that there. I want to go back to, if I feel, and I've no doubt you feel the same, I feel like constantly, like, from a career and life point, you should be reincarnating every couple of years. Like you should be reincarnating. You should be at least, like, my dream is relatively the same for the past 10, 15 years. But I've always sort of like reincarnated my views on life, my ideologies, my credos and stuff like that, and like I've never really superimposed them on anyone else. So I'll be damned if I'm going to let people superimpose theirs on me. I suppose I've come to that there stage now where I'm comfortable enough of being through things like that. The acidic pub banter, it doesn't really bother me. Like now I'm sort of just like, it's water off duck's back, and it would be like, I'd say like say what really would have bothered me years and years ago, like, and I think we've talked about this before, is when you put your hand out to offer someone like an olive branch, or you put your hand out to be a friend, and either they spite you or they let you down, like that, it used to really really wound me, like, because you used to say, like, oh, that person, that's not really the person I thought they were, like, or they've maybe taking the piss out of you in front of their mates behind your back and all this here, or they've badmouthed you or disparaged you. That really would have wounded me. Like, whereas now, like, I'm just sort of like, they're not my kind of people. I wouldn't even think of confronting them. I just like, they're not my kind of people. Or I suppose even when you're dating, and I know it's happened to you a couple of times, like when you're dating girls, like I remember like buying this girl an album, like, and you can just tell that she just sort of like, what is this shit? Like, I think it was Jeff Buckley's Grace, and like she wanted like a big bit trance classic, and I, which I like, by the way. But I thought, like, you'd a real kinship, and it's just like, what the fuck's this shit, like, and, like what's all this maudlin crooning, and like, I remember at the time thinking, like, fuck, I've invested a good few months like dating this girl, and then you just sort of realize, like, it's little things I got, and but now I just, you see the funny side. Like,
I mean, they're all things that come, I guess, with maturity and experience. I mean, like you said, I've had that same experience where I bought a girl an album, and I thought, surely she'll find some meaning in this, and she'll like me for being, intellectually, whatever. But I've no doubt when the girl took that album home, it's fucked straight in the bin, like,
And yours is the Glenn Hansford album once, wasn't it? I remember that, because I bought a girl Buckley's Grace, and I was like, what? So I felt your pain, because I'd done that a couple of years ago. I was like, bought Grace because I like, and as you say, fucked in the bin. What's this shit, like?
Yeah, like, in my mind, I was like, you know what, Glenn Hansard. I mean, if I can't convey what I'm feeling here, surely Glenn Hansard could do it for me. But I know that she played the first track of the album and thought, what is this shit?
One time, I was fucking, like, I was just buying any CDs I could at the time. Like, I was just really into music, and trying everything, the New Romantics and all this here, and like Bowie and Beatles and all that there. But I must have, I swear, I must have about 500 CDs at the time, which is, CDs were dear then. Like, CDs were like, 10, 15 quid. And I remember the dad came home from work one time, like, little inebriated, and he came up the stairs, and Duran's Planet Earth was playing, and he looked at the cover of Duran's Greatest Hits CD, the greatest, and he goes, what? Fucking Duran! Flung it into the corner. Like, I think he thought it, like, I think he's seen that as a sign to be watch out for.
He saw that as a red flag,
Oh, red flag. Yeah. So, but again, I think like we come from a town like where, like, we've become used to that kind of thing. Like, so I think, like, with our creative aspirations, like, from both a literary kind of background and from a musical background, I think that that should really embolden us in the fact that, like we're getting this, so nothing can really faze us, really, in terms of, like.
No, I think, like, growing up in Uri and with the sense of humor and the stick that you take, I think it provides you with a coat of armor. So when you go outside in Uri and someone gives you any kind of abuse, like, is that all you've got?
Yeah, like, what's a lovey in the theatrical industry got compared to some dude in a business site who's absolutely annihilated you, like, on a Friday night in the working men's, like,
Yeah. I think, as challenging as it is, and very often when they take aim at you pursuing whatever it is that you want to do, I think that there is value to be taken from it. It does strengthen you. It is growth. You learn to deal with it. I wanted to ask, with respect to yourself and your own writing, how
Yeah.
self-critical are you?
Oh fuck. Jesus Christ. I'm Kenneth Tynan. I'm Charlie Brooker. I'm that scumbag from the Sun newspaper, all rolled into one. So I am, like
Yeah,
Jesus. But you wouldn't believe it. The one area of my life that I'm bloody stretching my face here like I've got bloody Botox. I just realised that there. No, the one area of my life where I'm not self-critical is the songwriting. But the only area I would be critical of the songwriting is when I don't finish a song or procrastinate or a malaise. But funny, whenever I've finished a song or written it down, like I'm usually content with that there. I don't feel the need to keep scratching at it or obviously, but you like when you know when you know a song's finished, you know it's finished. And I'd imagine it's the same when you're writing something like a scene in at the playwright. You sort of know when it's tight, when it's lean and stuff like that there. But with regards to everything else, vocally, you lazy bastard, you're not doing any vocal warm-ups today, you're not doing this, you haven't lifted a guitar in 3 weeks. Like you do beat yourself up. You haven't gone around bars promoting yourself. You haven't done it. But it's very, very like I've sort of come to like an acquiescence with myself in this kind of way, in that I'm not until I make it per se. I don't have the teams that all these big players have. Like your signed artists have a team of marketing gurus, PR gurus. They've got management and all that there. In a way, like the comedian and the singer songwriter and anyone creatively, until that moment you make it, you're doing that there solo. Like it's a solo enterprise. Like where you. And it's the same even with and it's very similar to, that's why I love boxing and love MMA and stuff like that there, but mainly boxing. But I respect all the athletes who the plough that lonely furrow, like not really, like I know that the braggadocio of some boxers says, I knew I was always going to make it, but until you actually make it, you don't actually know. So but they do it anyway with a remorseless single-mindedness. They do the 30, 40 hours a week of training, right? And they do it without fully knowing. Like if someone goes to study medicine and they're intellectually of a level where they're gonna pass it, if they put the work in, there's a very sort of scientific X equals Y kind of formula to that there. So sort of if you put the work in, you'll graduate as a doctor. You can't say that for music. You can't say it for being a playwright. You can't say it for being a comedian. So there's something really there's a limit to what you can do. Like I don't have a big team behind me. I do all my social media and all my driving around the bars myself and stuff like that there. And I do all the recording, I do all the writing myself. So I'm sort of like less harsh on myself than I was 4 or 5 years ago. Like in terms of like, look, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Like in terms of like, but I'd rather just think strategically. I can't keep crushing myself, if you know what I mean. Because if I keep crushing myself, that's self-defeating. Like, and it's so now I'm sort of like, slowly but surely, I'm eliminating that kind of thinking from they're hard. I don't know why you've read Dr. Steve Peters, like, but he talks about goblins and gremlins, and you're thinking like some things are harder to get rid of than others. But it's slowly, I'm sort of going easy on myself. But man, like in terms of a lot of things, I'd be fucking really harsh on myself.
Like, yeah, I mean, I feel that's. I mean, I guess if you were to quantify it, that negativity, that voice on your shoulder that is constantly putting yourself down, that's, for me personally, that's the bigger voice I hear rather than the positivity. I watched a podcast recently. It's Diary of a CEO. I can't remember the guy's surname, Stephen something, but he was interviewing an ex-Google executive. Again, a name I can't remember, but he essentially personified that negative voice and give it a name. And when it starts to creep in, he talks to it in essence and tells it, not now, I don't want to talk to you, I'll talk to you later. So when he feels it starting to creep in, he addresses it and says, I'll deal with that later, I don't have time for you now, and continues to pursue what he's doing. And for me, I've tried to start to implement that, because very often I would let that negativity just overwhelm me, and then my motivation for doing anything is just all but gone. So now I not in the same way that he does, but Yeah. Not today. I'll talk to you later. Because again, my thinking, if I would have put it on a scale, the negativity would outweigh the positivity, and I'm trying to address that.
Yeah.
That's something I'm trying to deal with. And part of the motivation for doing the podcast was first and foremost, can I do it? Because I would be introverted more than I am extroverted. If I'm in familiar surroundings with familiar people in a comfortable environment, I'm all but keen to be happy and funny and the clown and whatnot. But if I'm not, I tend to shy away in the corner.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to overcome that fear of how I'm perceived, what people think of me, and not let it stop me from doing stuff that I want to. And I'm surprised, because when I done the first episode of the podcast, I quite naively, and I guess it was just to say something, I set out that I was going to do 10 episodes, but I hadn't even thought about that before I opened my mouth. It just came out.
Yeah.
And quite shortly afterwards, it's like, well, I've done one and it was okay, but oh shit, I've got 9 more to do. But again, each episode I get nervous. I'm like, and it's been, if I'm honest, I guess this is episode 8. 6 of the 8 people I know, so it's been easier. But there was 2 people I've never met before.
Yeah.
And it went quite well, thankfully. But again, it's that voice telling me you can't do this. But I'm learning just to, like, I'll talk to you later, and I go ahead and push on.
I think that's a great mechanism. I'll talk to you later, and I think I'm going to try and deploy that more. Not now. So you're not, because in a way you're not being glib. You're acknowledging it's there, because I think the worst thing you can do is say it's not there, because if it's not there, then it'll only grow exponentially.
You're
worse, I think.
So you're not. You're not
just not now. But just you're acknowledging it, just not now. Like, and I think even that there will keep that at bay, because it says like later, and later never comes. Of course, you don't want to engage with him. You just burn off that frenetic thinking for the kind of now. But I think like listen to your episodes. I think they come across so naturalistically. Like, and the one thing that like I've really like got out of your episodes is that boys like Damien and boys like Declan, the boys like who I'd call like the alpha males, like the boys that sort of like they put their life and limb at risk, into doing what they're doing. The fact that they can talk in terms of that thinking, that inner voice, really like, I don't know what, like, it sounds so childlike to say it here, but it did really shock me, like that they would have even counted that. And then I'm thinking, like, why the fuck wouldn't they think that there's some other boy that they're feeling who wants to punch their face in? So of course they're gonna feel it worse than us. But it's amazing. I always thought like people like my dad, like, I just thought there were these like ultimate hard men comic strip caricatures. Like, they never felt pain. I once fucking squeezed out tears with my fist. I just smashed the tears against the wall, and it's all done. But really, you think about it, they're just men, and they're just people, like, who just probably feel the same things that we do, albeit they grew up in generations that weren't as mindful of it that we are. And I think that we've got a good advantage. Our generation's got a good advantage, and subsequent generations have a greater advantage in the fact that we'll actually talk about it. Whereas staying then it was never talked about.
You need that release valve, that vent to offload that. And like you talk about our father's generations, and perhaps naively we pursued them as these indestructible hard men.
Yeah.
But we all have the insecurity, and I think part of the motivation to do this was to demonstrate that even people that are successful in their own field and that are doing extraordinary things, they have the same insecurity. They just learn how to push through it. And the insecurity doesn't necessarily go away. You just learn how to live with it. Like, for you in particular, for a writer, yes, it's a very personal investment in a project, a book or a play, or whatever. And yes, they're judged for it, but you're not out on stage in front of an audience. So for you, it's a very particular personal experience, in so much as that you're standing live in front of people. They're going to judge you on your performance.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I suppose that's where the little braggadocio comes from. That dichotomous thinking. The sad doubts with the preternatural insane level of confidence in certain ways. Obviously, but like I must at some intrinsic level, I must believe in what I do. And I must detach, depersonalize from what they're saying. But especially songs that you've written yourself, and you someone goes, "Oh, it's a load of shit," but I would actually just think no, you're a load of shit. I would, or if somebody says, "Oh, that version you did of Bowie Starman, that was wank," I would hurt me. So I'd be like, "Oh, you fucking twat!" Whereas if somebody said something I'd written, that's really, I don't know where I cannot tell you, Damien, where I get that belief from, about my writing. It's the one thing I would just say, is Blue Chip or Rolls Royce. I'd always say, if you make it in the music business, there's that trifecta or triumvirate of things. You need some musical ability, right? Writing ability is perfect, and your voice. So the three things, the holy trinity for me is the writing, the voice, and the guitar, right? And the voice and the guitar to me, I've always sort of, it's the nip and tuck, depending on what you've put more time into. The voice might be slightly better than the guitar might be slightly better than the voice. But to me, they've always been portals for my writing. The writing's always been something that I've always said, yes, I'm a Rolls Royce writer. I'm a writer, darling. And I would never, but so if anyone questioned my writing, I would just say, well, you're a fucking idiot. You're a Philistine. What do you know? And I don't know where I get that from. I don't know what, maybe just years growing up with that acidic kind of guys makes you sort of partly one of them guys in a little way. You've that cloak of armor. But I've doubted my guitar playing, I've doubted my voice, but I've never doubted my ability to write. And
I love that.
I think that's very blessed with that.
If I could go back to The Office, it reminds me of that episode where David Brent's dressed up as Austin Powers, I think it is.
You're the wanker.
Somebody shouts wanker, and Brent shouts back, "No, you're the wanker, mate."
And he's right. They are the wanker. You're the wanker.
So, if you were to say, how often do you come off having performed? Do you feel that you've done, I nailed that, or do you come off more times than not saying I could have been better?
Yeah, every time could have been better, but the other night I know I nailed it. I know there's a couple of things because no one complained. Even the barroom drunk were, they were quailed. But yeah, there's some nights you do. I'd say maybe, what would you say? Probably 75-25. Or 70-30. You think okay, that was a decent gig, but God, there's been some wretched ones I've done in fucking Republican heartlands, and you tell them, it's always the case, to give you the ring on a Thursday or Friday, can you play Saturday night? And you wonder why they ring you on a Friday night, because someone else is backed up, because they've got more bumps doing somewhere else. That's the truth. So they ring you, your last minute guy, and because you've been to the pub before, when you're going around handing out your cards. So on my cards, I have, because when I'm doing the public gigs, I would do Marty McGuigan, rock pop classics from the 60s to present day, right? Pretty clear what that is, blah, blah, blah. And so you get a call from, say, this place in, we'll describe as a Republican heartland, right? Quite near to Newry. And that's just sort of settle it where it is. And it'd say, yeah, can you play in the morning? I says, yeah. I says, well, you know that I'm Oasis, Beatles, Kinks, Bowie, Roy Orbison, stuff like that there. Yeah. That'd be brilliant. Just because they're desperate to get you in, right? Yeah. And you turn up, and you do it, and you see 100 evil eyes looking at you because you're not singing Raglan Road, or you're not singing "Fuck Off, You British Bastards." Get it? It's not 2 hours of that, and I, you start sort of even in situations like that there, you start having fun with. So I remember I goes, oh yeah, here's a song that was singing down in the GPO, hey Jude, and they want to kill you, so they do. But yeah, the gigs like that, let's be honest, apart from moments like that there, you actually fear for yourself, because you've got that physical primal kind of vulnerability. It's just you with your gear, and there's 100 of them, and they all sort of know each other, and the added corollary to that there is that they're fucking pissed. And drunk people do silly things when they're bloody, when they feel they've got a chip on their shoulder. And yeah, them gigs are just horrible. I remember doing a gig in Lurgan, right? And there was a party, and the dad who booked me, he goes, yeah, just do a few Jerry Cinnamon. I love Jerry Cinnamon and all that's here. And I outlined what my set was, blow. He said, yeah, that's great. Actually went to the bother taking a screenshot of what my set list was, right? And he watched that and going, yep, boom, the big thumb, blue text here, that's great, perfect. He says, get a few Jerry Cinnamon in. And at the time, Jerry Cinnamon only had one album, like, you know. So I'd learned 5. Canter, Belter, can't remember what the other ones are, Cantona maybe, but I don't know. And so I learned, like, 5 of any artist was pretty much enough. You know, like, really, I don't like to do any more than 2 or 3. So I'd done 5 because I knew that, okay, he's asked for it, boom. So went up, Cinnamon, played them, and the mum, horrible, horrendously drunk, her and her mate, bingo wings, kind of fodder, like, you know, just mangled. And they were like, up, grab him a microphone. And I said, no, don't be grabbing the microphone. I'll do the singing. Thank you very much. You know, you try and be good at that. You should never drink in an empty head and all this, you know, and you're trying to just diffuse them, just like, fuck off, let me sing. I just start coming up, sing ABBA, like, and anyone who's ever heard me sing know that I do not have a voice like fucking Agnifas, you know. So you know, Johnny Cash and all this, and you know, most people are loving it. So much so at the break, I actually goes, and the dad goes to me, I'm going to book you back again. The dad was a lovely man. The wife, hard in, like, you know, just septic, good cop, bad cop. And the mum comes up, she goes, listen, fucking liven up, like she was making a phone call, you know, an ominous phone call through to fucking the mainland Britain in the 1980s. You might want to clear the town, you know, like, fucking liven up. And I goes, what do you want me to do with an acoustic guitar? Like, and I'm singing like She's Electric, and you know, all like the foot stompers, you know, and then Belter and all this here. And then boom. So that was all right. And I remember at the end of that gig, I just get me the fuck out of here, like, you know, because there must have been 4 or 5, all the women up grabbing a microphone, singing it here, putting their fucking their G&Ts on top of your amplifier. I was like, that's not a table, that's like £1,000 that amplifier. Like, I said, can you take that? You know, just not even worth the money you're getting. And at the end of the gig, I was packing up, and just for point scoring, because drunk people like some drunk people they can't be told, or they can't lose, if you know what I mean. They have to, you know. At the end, I was packing up, and I actually feared. It was a horrible feeling. I'm in the middle of Lurgan. It was kind of a rough kind of bar. Did the 21st. The dad was loving me and all this here. Most people thought it was a decent gig, but there was a sizable contingent that wanted my blood because I couldn't play fucking ABBA and Kate Bush, you know. And, like I said, I'm not Alexa, I'm not a fucking jukebox. I have, you know, artists have these thing called set lists, you know, like they've been going for years. And fucking, so I'm packing up, and I hear her bitterly bemoaning me to the husband. And all I heard the husband, to his credit, the husband goes, he was brilliant. He seems a lovely lad. And you know what she said? She goes, no, you should have heard what he said to me. And the husband, to his credit, like I'll never forget, like a drunk guy sort of saying this to his wife. Well, we did. He was on the microphone talking to you. Like, so, but she basically tried to instigate or incite him to go up and confront me, like, you know, at the end of a gig, like, and I was just like, that's just not worth it. Like, so the verbal criticism doesn't really bother me whenever you're in sort of like
I think,
physical sort of hospitality.
You know, at the time, I'm sure, like you said, get me the fuck out of here. But in hindsight, when you're retelling those stories, I'd love to see a documentary series or a mockumentary, you know, not take itself too serious, follow you around.
Oh man, it would be pure that. It would be pure that. I'd be Brent in the Austin Powers outfit, like going around them pubs,
Comedy
people,
gold.
comedy, you know, and people just sort of not really like you know, people not really respecting it. I did a gig in Bonnyrig outside Edinburgh, and it was actually Bonnyrig, a bit of train spotting set in Bonnyrig. You know, if you read Irvin Welsh's novel, it's a lot of it's set in Bonnyrig, and turned up this place, utter shithole, utter, like, it looks like it was like, honestly, it looked like an atomic bomb had been through it. Like, went up to the bar, because at the time there wasn't really smartphones. It was just your sort of like if you want to do Google Maps, you go on your laptop kind of thing. So went up this bar, and it was like a fucking dungeon. Iron bars and where the windows were, and one of the windows was smashed through. They still hadn't bloody bothered replacing it, so that smashed. I said, what the fuck am I letting this happen for? Go in this place, Steve, and honestly, it was like a ship. It was like you're on a ship. It was rocking, so like people gesticulating angrily at wee barmaids and all, like, and people rowing, glasses swinging.
Have you ever gone to a venue, looked at it, and thought, you know what, fuck this, and turned around and gone? Or have you played every venue you've went to?
I played every venue I've turned up in. That was the closest. Because I just felt in palpable danger. But it turned out, and it just shows never judge a crook by his cover. It turned out that to be the best gig I ever did, because they had me back every. that was a Sunday night. I think that one in Bonnyrig replaced the one in Whistle Dinky, and because they paid more money, and it was like every Sunday they had me, and it was some kind of weird kind of like paganistic kind of respect for the guitar man. Like everyone else was fair game. That there was fights broke out in the dance hall in that place. Like, I mean, proper fights, proper arguments. But I never felt, after the first or second time I did that gig, I never felt in danger, because there was they're always like, say, I remember husband and wife were round, and the wife clocked the husband a slap. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I'm just about to wrap up from a break. I'm going to go up to have a drink at the bar, have a break, blah, blah. And because I wasn't driving then, I was just using the taxis and that there. So I was going for a drink, and wife clocks the husband this awful slap, and you can hear it, so you can. And I'm like, what does he do? He slaps her back. Didn't even think no more of it. So he sees, like, must be from the corner of his eye that I'm walking towards the bar. So he's cognizant of the fact that I've seen this here, and he said, she just wouldn't listen. She wouldn't. Like, he's trying to justify to me. And I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was thinking, I'm pretty much sure, like, the family courts wouldn't see it that way. She just wouldn't listen.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm going to have to do another episode at some stage with you, because I get the sense, with all the stories that you could tell, you could fill a book, man, honestly. But all things considered, you genuinely love what you do, and you wouldn't change. You wouldn't change the story.
Wouldn't, because like, going back to what we said, and again, it's why we got on really well all those years ago, and we're still friends to this day. I think you wouldn't change your journey, because the right people come into your life at the right time, and the people, be it relationships, be it jobs, be it financially, they just weren't meant to be on our journey. Like, and I think that so the Glenn Hansard CD, like, it will stay on the shelf the next time for that, or the Jeff Buckley CD. It's gonna go to the right person, or the person who will bloody no, I wouldn't change it at all. I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't. And I think I'm sort of excited. I'm gonna go back in the studio at the end of summer, and I've loads of new tracks to record. So it's onwards and upwards. And as you say, we get to write that adventure, which is, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I've never had the privilege to see you live. I've watched your stuff online, so I'm going to make a point when I'm home. I have no excuse. I'm going to a couple of more things before I wrap up. So when all things are said and done, and you've had a life in music, if you were to, I guess, create an album of your life, what would you call that album?
Whoa, big question.
It's a deep question, But something that would essentially sum up your life in music, and I guess sum up you as a person. Or what would the narrative of that album be? What would you hope that it told or conveyed?
Title, let me think. The pros and the songs. I think maybe as long as I felt that it maybe not of an overarching narrative, but as long as I felt it was being sincere and being authentic, as long as I thought it was representative of me, I'd be happy of it and I'd be proud of it. you can be grandiose and say, I want to make the next Sergeant Pepper, you know, but that's all well and good, and it's fine and fanciful, because you might do, like, you know, but like any filmmaker, when he wants to make a film, might think, okay, I would love to make Citizen Kane. But I think, yeah, I think every artist thinks that they want to make it as good as they possibly can. But also, I just think, like, I believe in it. As long as I believe in it, then I'd be happy with it. And I think that it's got to be, because anytime I write a song, it's kind of innately, but something I've observed, or, like, you know, or something that I've seen, or maybe a feeling or a thought that I have. And if I can defend that thought, then I'm happy enough to defend what it would be about. So I think that would be maybe the overriding narrative would be, as long as it's representative and it's not a cliches or truisms, or and it's bloody something authentic, then I think that it would be of intrinsic value, really, then, you know.
Genuinely, I think, you know, this, I guess what I wanted to try and put across in this episode was Marty McGuigan, the musician. But I think we could reserve a whole other episode for Marty McGuigan, the comedian. You know, you've got that natural ability to tell a story, you know, and doing it in a very comical way. I think you're immensely talented in that respect, and musically. I've always admired you, because I think I said in the introduction, you're unashamedly yourself. You're very authentic. You are, what you see is what you get. You're genuine, and that's admirable. I wish in many ways, and I mean, I hope to be authentic and genuine.
Oh, you are. Yeah, I think that's why we clicked, because straight back at you. I think you're immensely talented. You've got such a huge brain, like, and you've got such a huge heart to go in tandem with it. And I think that you know, with your literary aspirations, it's undoubtedly, if you just keep persevering at it, it's gonna reap dividends for you. Like, and just keep it the adventure, I think. And I think it'll serve both of us well, I think, you know.
Yeah, that's the hope. But again, I just want to thank you for taking the time and chatting with me today. I think anybody that watches this it's literally value for money.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. So Marty, thank you very much, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Give me a shout when you're back, and we'll get a pint then, yeah. And
absolutely.
We'll bring our Glenn Hansford and Jeff Buckley CDs
and cry over our pints.
Yeah, you take care, buddy. All right.